We're 13 days away from Election Day. The latest 538 poll has Kamala Harris at 49% and Donald Trump at 47%. But Nate Silver says that his gut reaction is that Trump will win. So here to discuss is Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze News, and Steve Deace, host of The Steve Deace Show here on Blaze TV. So Steve, we wanted to have you on to kick off our conversation because we're so close now to Election Day. So what is your gut feeling for election?
I think when it comes to environment, narrative, and momentum, I think we are clearly winning. But what lingers underneath the surface is, and you even alluded to it, Jill, in your opening, what lingers underneath the surface is a certain level of machinery that I'm going to probably need to see us defeat before I am confident. I used to think there's always been margins of cheating. I remember Newt Gingrich telling me on his campaign back in the day. I mean, he was writing op-eds to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution 40 years ago, complaining about the Democrat machine in Fulton County. And this is before the events of 2020, well before. So there's always been some margin of cheating. The Romney campaign organized an apparatus called Orca in 2012 to take it on, and in true Romney fashion, it did nothing. So what we have now, though, is I don't know what the margin of cheating is anymore. I mean, we had Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan was up by 1 point in the final Real Clear Politics polling average in the 2022 midterms. She won by 10. I mean, Donald Trump just absolutely broke the Real Clear Politics polling average in the 2020 election. So I don't know what the margins of cheating are anymore. To be fair to Maricopa County, Trump is polling way ahead of where he was the last two times he ran. And so they clearly don't know how many votes they're going to need to count here. You know, it's going to take a little bit longer to come up with that number, you know. So I need to see us beat that machinery. And until I see it, I'm not going to be confident. But on the other matters, the boxes we used to check, before 2020, I'm very confident.
So we want to get into some of those details in a minute, but when you look at the big picture, right? This is my problem, and I'm curious if you feel the same way. Like you said, every normal measure, right? It seems fine, and it almost makes me feel like I'm back in normal political time. I haven't felt this way, Steve, for years, right? And I don't believe it. I don't believe the feeling, but because I feel
I don't believe my own hype. I don't believe my own hype.
No,
yes.
I don't believe the feeling. But the feeling is, Kamala's falling apart. We can just see we're going to drift in the presidency. Everyone I know is measuring the drapes already and squabbling about what positions they'll get. And it's just going to go back and everything's going to be fine. And then, of course, my reason is telling me, no, all the psychos who are still in charge, who have proven they're willing to do anything for the last 8 years. And this could be a very protracted battle, et cetera, et cetera. So does that resonate with you? And how do you kind of feel about this?
I don't know. 100% resonates, Matt. I don't know. I've never had to analyze, quantify that kind of factor. The closest I can come to it, I love my sports analogies, but when I was a kid and you went to play Gene Cady at Purdue or Bob Knight at Indiana, the referees were so intimidated by those two coaches in those environments. You just knew going in that you had to be 8 to 10 points better than Indiana and Purdue to win a game in those arenas. Chances are they were going to attempt more free throws than you were going to make. All right. And they were going to get every judgment call. So you just kind of knew that, and that was just kind of a sunk cost of being a fan of 1980s era Big Ten basketball. You just kind of knew that. And that's kind of what I think, analyzing this. I mean, our own Blaze original we did earlier this year with Sarah Gonzalez about my former home state of Michigan. I mean, when she went up there, and I texted her after I watched the advanced version or copy of that before it went live. And I said, I'm in my corner of my man cave where I'm at right now, and I'm cutting myself. All right. I mean, it's a crime in Michigan to report voter fraud. Okay. So I don't know how we could not. I mean, I screamed about this the last few years, and I'm a purist, and I can't be pleased, and I won't unite, and this and that. I just want to friggin' win, all right? And I just saw we did nothing for 4 years other than release no Kraken, stop no steals, and a lot of people built massive engagement armies and farms, going on and on and on about what they have over there. But when I looked at the midterm or the post-midterm special election and off-year elections, Matt, we got freaking killed. Mm-hmm. They were taking plus 20 Trump Ohio congressional districts in special elections and losing them by 8. Okay. So the one thing I am confident about because I don't think we can make a lot of comparisons or conclusions about the early voting because we have no control group. You can't compare anything to 2020 when almost everybody was voting mail-in around the country. So we don't know what any of these numbers mean. But the one thing I am heartened to hear, and even Daniel Horowitz backed me up on this, so now I know it's okay to be positive, okay? The one thing I am heartened to see is that we got killed by their ballot harvesting machinery in these off-year special elections. So at the very least, our energy level is where it needs to be, given how well we're performing in this early voting. Even if we're cannibalizing the people that would have voted, it still means, though, that they're showing up to vote. So we've established there's going to be a floor. And even a couple of months ago, I wasn't so sure about that. So that's at least a starting spot.
Well, as a Republican, I know, Steve, you just want to go out there and say scoreboard. That's the win that you want to go see. But when you're looking at the different sides of what we have right now, right? Maricopa County saying it could take 13 days to count ballots. And then you were mentioning the numbers. Well, in Miami-Dade County right now, Republicans are plus 16 this morning. Mm-hmm. So where do you cut the knife between those two fractions of headlines that we're seeing right now?
I think even if you're trying to do this honestly, and I'm not sure how many people left are, okay, but even if you're trying to do this honestly, Jill, I think the 2020 election broke voter rolls all over the country. Just if you know me long enough to know, I think Quinnipiac sucks as a pollster. Okay, but let me use them as an example. So they did some polling of Michigan 3 weeks ago. They had Trump +1. Today they come out, they've got Kamala +3. The only difference being in the first Trump poll, it was Republicans R +1. In this poll, it's D +4. Both of those scenarios are very plausible. And I think that even if you're trying to do it honestly, we really don't know who's going to turn out. Because we don't have mass mail-in voting everywhere anymore. We've actually won a few decisions here late in several key states around the country, like Pennsylvania and Georgia, clamping down on their ability just to conjure, ballots. So if you just adjust a point or two of turnout of the overall electorate, let alone a couple of subgroups here or there, you can come up with a vastly different outcome, even if you're trying to do it honestly. I also think we're seeing a bit of a realignment here. I do think we are seeing the Republican Party continue to decline as it has under Trump with white college graduates. On the other hand, I do think there is a very real possibility, and you know how much I will pan that we clickbait our boomer audiences that are rightly tired of being called racist all these years. But I do think both in terms of vibes and in the data, it is very possible Donald Trump's going to get a record number of Hispanic men and black men. And in that case, that's also something that if it manifests itself, a poll would be a leading indicator to claim it's possible, but probably wouldn't be able to actually nail what that would actually be, and that could move an electorate a few places there too. And so if you've got some demographic realignment as well as a pollster, that makes it really hard to kind of frame and weight your electorate all the more. Because you're already going against conventional wisdoms by giving Kamala more white college graduates than a Democrat has typically gotten, and giving Trump more Hispanic and black males than a Republican has.
Well, Steve, you talk about realignment. Well, Tulsi Gabbard joined the Republican Party officially last night. Let's take a look.
It is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party.
Steve, we have about 60 seconds left. What does this mean for the Republican Party and just that realignment that is going on right now?
I think it means more for Trump and his movement. And I think the one thing that's happened this cycle that has never happened before is Trump has been polling ahead of the Republican Party the entire time, when previously he polled and finished behind it. And I think you're seeing now he is expanding his coalition, whether it's RFK Jr., Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard, that essentially Donald Trump's movement represents 1980s, 1990s New York City, and versus 2024 San Francisco and Minneapolis. Now, what it means after this election for the GOP, Jill, remains to be seen. But it's very clear that Trump's movement has expanded its coalition.
Steve Deace, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
There you go. A little, a good Republican take there from Deace to get us started off with, there's 13 days left now until the big event.
Yeah, I feel like that was a sanity check. We're, no one's going crazy. We all see the same, similar things. I think that the cautious optimism, of course, is great. One thing that I think we should really think about, I was talking to a couple of people on a chat group about, is the difference this time, if this is protracted, and messy and close, is that there is Elon Musk in an existential crisis where he's got to win, who has resources, and I think can lead and push better than the Republican Party usually can.